Welcome to another Tuesday. I'm very excited to be back in town. I had gone on this lovely adventure up north. It's about a 5.5 hour drive, so a little bit of a trek, but we're back now. It's a long way to go in a couple of days, but we made it count. So we were up there, unfortunately, for a memorial, but we tried to make the most of it. Well, we weren't at the memorial. Yeah, I'm very excited to be back in Mohkinstsis, and this is my home. It's funny. There's just every place has a different energy, and when I start driving into Calgary, I feel like this just joy fills my heart. It just fills my soul, and I'm very thankful to be home. It does feel like my home. Before we get started, I always like to acknowledge the land that we stand upon because it's important to know where we are, to know where we're going, to know what has brought us to this moment, to really understand this place. There's a sense of place that I think we need in that connection to self. And so I honor the Blackfoot of Siksika, Kainai, and Pagani for making Treaty 7 what it is. I also honor the Tsuut'ina and also the Stoney Nakoda from Morley, which includes Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. It's really important to honor the Métis as well, Métis Region 3, which is why I proudly wear my Métis sash to act as that bridge between Indigenous and non-Indigenous culture. I honor those families, and I pray for those families because all of our families from that are First Nations have gone through so much to be where we are today. The fact that we're still here and we still exist, and we are able to, share our songs and share our stories. That's such a blessing because for so many years we weren't allowed to be who we were in our own home. This is where we're connected to. This is where our ancestors have been for thousands of years. And so to take that sense of self and that sense of identity away, it's heart-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, and it's caused a lot of trauma. But now we're starting to rebuild. And the best way to heal from trauma is to reconnect to who you are and the value of who you are. So this is why it's so important to honor the value of every person individually, but also their deep connection to their ancestry. Also, it's really important to recognize what everyone has gone through, both on a personal level and on a deep intergenerational trauma level, to really put you in a sense of connection and communion with that person or with a group of people. And so to welcome everybody today, I love to share the Cree Welcome Song. It's just a beautiful way to bring everybody into the circle. Traditionally, when I sing songs and when I share stories, I sing in rounds of four to honor the four directions of the medicine wheel. But this song is a little bit different. We do sing it in rounds of three, and that's to keep the circle open and welcoming so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all together, we're all united, and no one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle. Just like in the hoop of life, there's no greater or less than in the hoop of life. The animals know that, the plants know that. It's this relationship that we have to the land and to each other. And that's really what we need to remember when we do acknowledgements. It's acknowledging the relationship that we have and the responsibility that we have to the earth, but also to our future generation. And so this song just unites us in that common goal, knowing that we all are in the same place, we're all in the same time, and we all have the same responsibility to make the world a better place for our future generations. And so when I share this song, I honor the Natahau family from Sturgeon Lake, Cree Nation, and they have kept this song alive for many generations, and it's a blessing to be able to share it in a meaningful and in a good way. It reminds us that a culture and a people can be resilient, even when facing insurmountable odds. We do pull through, and so it's really important just to acknowledge where those songs have come from, where those stories have come from, and really the meaning behind them. So this song, Mia Sin, it doesn't just mean welcome, it also means beautiful. So I'm going to stand up and I'm going to sing. And thanks, I got these out in Musqueam. These are awesome. Mia Sin, Mia Sin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Pepe Wagomaga Hota Homa Kitaskino Miasen Miasen Hasemina Hasemina He Petakote Wagumagan Hota Homa Kitaskino Miasen Miasen Hasemina Hasemina Epetakote Wagomagan Hota Homa Kitaskino. Hi, welcome to the circle, everybody. So I also wanted to start today. I know last time I kind of forgot about it, but I think it's really important to always start with a smudge. It just kind of cleanses everything that you're going through, and it gets rid of anything that you're carrying, and it just balances you out. It's the way that we distress, it's the way that we pray, and all prayer is intention. It's just setting that intention for what you need, what you want, and it's asking for the things that you need and getting rid of the things that you don't. And so I'm going to slide over here. So there's my smudge stuff right by my drum. And even though we're not using all of the medicines today, we always lay them out. I always lay my medicines out so that I honor them and I respect them. And it's really about honoring that respect, that everything around us is balanced. Everything around us is balanced. I mean, the sun and the moon, there's a balance. We have, the air and the earth, that's a balance. And so we've got the balance of all of the four elements. And so we acknowledge every single medicine. I only lay out 4 of my major medicines, and depending on where you are, the different elders will have different teachings, different knowledge keepers will have different teachings, and different nations vary, because you have to think it's a sense of place, right? It's where are they? What are those medicines that are readily available? When do they harvest those particular medicines? And once you start to kind of acknowledge that, that's when you start to see where they fit on those particular medicine wheels. But the overall knowledge behind the medicine wheel is of balance, is of moderation, is of acknowledging where your part is and what you need to help and balance your life. And so that being said, I'm just going to acknowledge my medicines very, very quickly here. So this is, I'm going to hold it up here. This is sweetgrass. And when I was driving up north, I kept passing these ditches just jam-packed with beautiful, beautiful sweetgrass. I'm kind of regretting not getting out and doing some ditch picking, because they're in rural Alberta, nobody goes by on some of those roads. And so there's just such this huge abundance of different medicines that are in the ditch. But there was so much sweetgrass, and I was just so thankful. In spite of the fact that as soon as you get into kind of these swampy areas, there's a lot of mosquitoes, there's also a lot of sweetgrass. So, you take one and you take the other. So sweetgrass helps our mind. It is connected to the element of fire because it is in the east with grandfather's sun. He's the rising sun. And again, when I share these teachings, these are just my teachings. If they make sense to you, awesome. If they don't, that's okay, because whatever's meant for us, we'll remember, and whatever's not won't take up space in our brain. There won't be a test. You'll be okay. But it's really about acknowledging that we're all on different journeys. And so at different times, our medicine wheels might even change. And so it's really about finding what works for you on your journey at this time. What is going to be your healing tool? With sweetgrass, it's really wonderful for the mind. In my medicine wheel being the Cree Anishinaabe medicine wheel, it's in the east. Grandfather's sun, it connects us to the mind. It's when we wake up in the morning. That's when our mind starts to starts to just reboot. It's connected to our childhood because when we're kids, we actually learn the most than we're ever going to learn in our whole lives. And it's also just connected to the way that we learn, the fire that's within our brain. So every time we learn something, there's a synapses that fires in our brain. It's really wonderful for focus. It's really great for anxiety. It's really good for learning disabilities as well. And both my kids have ASD, which is autism. And when they're just really, really wound up and can't sleep, or sometimes if they're just like have a lot of anxiety before going to school, we'll smudge with sweetgrass, and it just calms them right down, and they can have a really good day at school. And I definitely notice the difference in days that we smudge versus not. And so I try and maintain that smudge every single day because it's so good for everything. It's really puts you in a good space in a good way. Sweetgrass is considered the children's medicine and the sweetest medicine. It's also considered the men's medicine because it is associated with grandfather son or the masculine medicine. And we're all a balance of masculine and feminine. So it's really important to honor and acknowledge that balance, because we're not just one thing. I mean, we can't typecast somebody like that, but we also can't typecast ourselves like that. So it's important to acknowledge that balance of masculine and feminine. So if we're feeling a little off, we're feeling like our mind is just not keeping up with the rest of us, we'll definitely switch to sweetgrass. It helps us make decisions too. So I'm going to show this braid again. So every section of the braid has 7 blades of sweetgrass in it. And those 7 blades represent the 7 generations. So whenever we make a decision, we think 7 generations behind. What did my ancestors do to bring me to this moment? Am I honoring everything that they did, all of the sacrifices they had to go through, everything that they endured to bring me here and to bring my teachings here? And what did they leave for me? What's that legacy that they left for me? And is this decision honoring and respecting everything that they had done? And am I acknowledging everything that they had done with this decision? Am I making them proud? And then we think 7 generations forward, what am I doing to leave a lasting legacy for my future generations? Am I leaving a world for them to be proud of? Am I leaving a better world for them, or am I leaving a mess for them to clean up? And so when we make decisions like that, we make way better decisions, because we're not just deciding for ourselves in this moment. We're deciding for all of our generations and the responsibility that we carry of making people proud, but leaving that legacy as well. And so it helps us. But also we have that 7 teachings. The 7 teachings is really about recognizing, our courage, our responsibility, our relationships, our love, our wisdom. It's carrying all of these things, and together they intertwine to help us make better decisions. And so that's why sweetgrass really good for making decisions. So if you're stuck on something, like even if it's something as simple as a paint color, or if it's something as big as what are the next steps that I should take in my university career, or should I get a new job? Sweetgrass will help you decide that. All right, because I think you already know the answer. It's just sweetgrass helps you pull those out. Then the next medicine, we're going to go to the south. In Cree, we follow the suns. We go from the east to the south to the west, and then the north when it sets. In Mohawk country, they go the other way. So they actually reflect the sky. And so when I'm sitting with one of my friends in ceremony who goes to Mohawk ceremony, I'll sit with her and I'm like, you guys are inviting on the contrary grandmothers. And then when she sits with me, she's like, you guys are going the wrong way. So it's quite interesting. And like I said, it's not right or wrong. It's just different. It's the way that, we learn. It's the way that we carry those teachings. And nobody can take those teachings away from us. They're within us. So the next medicine that we have in the south is cedar. Now, cedar isn't really found very much in Alberta. It was mainly one of those things that was traded. And so we had these extensive trade routes across all of Turtle Island, down Turtle Island being like Canada and the States, all of North America. We had a lot of trade routes. And this is why they're finding bundles all over the world with traditional medicines and seeds that are only found in particular regions of the world, which is pretty amazing. Up in Nunavut, they opened a bundle, a medicine bundle, and they found seeds and stems from all the way down in Peru, which was pretty incredible. But it just goes to show that even before colonization, there was something else here, and we need to just reconnect with the amount of relationships that we had at that time, and how just put that value back in what was here even before we were quote unquote discovered, because there was a lot more going on. But back to cedar. Cedar is amazing. It's a tree, of course, it's a sprig, and it's that in between medicine. So it's not quite a leaf, it's not quite a needle, it's right in between. So it kind of looks like a really squished leaf, a really squished needle, or a really rolled up leaf. These are sprigs, and it represents that in between. So it is why it represents our adolescence. So our adolescence is the time that of transition, is that transition from childhood to adulthood. And so we need to kind of figure out, what do we want to do with our life? So that's the time that we learn. And it's not just 2 or 3 years of puberty, it's the time it takes us to transition to adults. So in Cree culture, it's from the age of 12. That's when you start your path to becoming an adult. Until about the ages of 20, between the ages of 22 to 24. And scientifically, that's when our brains and our bodies stop developing. So I love it when science proves things we've done for thousands of years. Because, again, it makes me look smart. I like it. But the cedar is amazing whenever I have like a little tickle in my throat, or if I have allergies, or I'm sore or stiff. Cedar is kind of my go-to. So if I have like really, really itchy skin, I will throw cedar in my bath water and I'll just have a bath. So I ended up getting a lot of sun when we were on our trip. I was only intending on spending like an hour or two at the lake with my little guy, and he was just like, no, I want to keep staying. And so we stayed there for 6 hours. So I basically roasted for 6 hours. And I don't care how much sunscreen you slather on, 6 hours in the sun is going to do something, especially if you've kind of been in a bubble and haven't really gotten any sun exposure on your back. So my back was quite red. So as soon as I got home, I just ground up. I boiled some cedar, I threw it in my bath, and yeah, it took down the redness, it took down all of it. And so I'm nice and brown and beautiful now. So as opposed to bright red and lobstery. So, but cedar is amazing for a whole bunch of different things. We use it for eczema. Like all you do is grind it up with a little bit of coconut oil and put it on your eczema. It's amazing. If you have eczema that's kind of spewing, you can either use red clay along with it, or you can even use baking soda just to mix with that mixture, and it actually helps just kind of pull everything out, which is great. It's great for mosquito bites. I've been chewing it and putting on my mosquito bites because, like I said, up north there's a lot of mosquitoes. It's really helped because it kind of it numbs the skin, so you don't get itchy, which is awesome, but it also pulls the toxins out, which is fantastic. So cedar's kind of my go-to for everything: coughs, colds, aches, pains. If you have a toothache, just chew it and put it against your gums. And it actually, not only because it's antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, it deals with whatever's going on up there. Because it's numbing, it calms it, which is awesome. And yeah, whenever it's an antihistamine, which I actually found out last year when a friend of mine was here. And then another friend of mine who's super allergic to my cats. And of course, my cats are like, I love you, because, cats. So it's like that thing, oh, you don't want me? Let me love you. And so he was starting to swell up, his eyes were swollen. He's like, I gotta go. And my other friend who was with me, she's like, well, you have cedar. I'm like, yeah. She's like, just give him some cedar. And so I did. I gave him some cedar tea, and within 20 minutes of drinking the cedar tea, his eyes weren't swollen anymore, his sinuses had drained. It was amazing. So when my eldest son starts to get hay fever, as soon as the seasons start to turn, we go straight to the cedar tea. But it tastes awful, but it works, like Buckley's. Same thing with coughs and colds. And even for my asthma, I boil it on the stove and I breathe it in. It's awesome. And so that is cedar. That also teaches us about our connection with the earth. This is why it's so good for our body, because it's that reminder of that reciprocal connection that we have with the earth. How when we breathe with the plants and the animals. In particular, we breathe with the cedars. The cedars have been watching us grow and evolve for so many years. Some of the oldest trees have been watching over us. And so when we breathe out, they breathe in, and vice versa. It teaches us about that relationship, that reciprocal relationship that we have with those animals and with those plants. And so it also reminds us never to take more than our share, or else somebody's going to be without. Never to take without asking permission, because it's all about respecting and honoring the earth and yourself. Don't overtake for yourself as well. And so, yeah, I honor and respect this beautiful, beautiful little plant, which can grow really big. I'm hoping that the ones that we planted in my backyard are going to grow really big. So next up, we have the West. And in the West, we have the women's medicine, which is sage. This is lovely sage. This is great. Thank you. This sage in particular, I'm just going to break a couple branches off. This is buffalo sage. So this is all over Alberta. This is a prairie sage. It's really huge. There's so many different kinds of sage that grow in Alberta. But this sage in particular, it's hard to miss because it grows really, really tall. It's also known as buffalo grass in some places. But this is mainly what we use to smudge. I feel weird when I smudge with anything else. That's because buffalo sage is kind of my go-to. It burns so beautifully. And it's just really easy to make a smudge with. Okay, so this is, again, the buffalo sage. So it comes on a stem. When we gift it to people, we leave it on the stem for them because as soon as we pull off the leaves, they hold our energy, they hold our intentions. And we don't want to dictate how somebody's going to pray or how somebody's going to use the medicine. And so to honor and respect them, we leave it on the stem just because it holds our energies. Let them decide what they want to do with it. And if they want to pass it on and give it to a friend, then you don't want that energy in there. You want them to be able to give it clean. So I have bundled it up into this lovely little ball. So this is the Creek Crunch where we crunch it in a little piece. And then this is the Blackwood roll where we roll it nice and tight. And then we put the medicine into our smudge bowl. And this is our lovely, lovely smudge bowl. Put that in there. So a little bit more about sage being the women's medicine. It's connected to grandmother moons. We have grandfather sun in the east, we have grandmother moon in the west. Grandmother moon controls the tides, so she pushes the tides in and out, but also she cycles in 28 days, just like women. We cycle in 28 days. So it's that aspect of cleansing, it's that aspect of healing, it's the aspect of letting things go, and it's releasing. It's also teaches us about honoring our tears, honoring our emotions, and honoring unconditional love. So sometimes it's really, really difficult, especially when we get wrapped up in our head, to let things go. But it's really, really important that we acknowledge that our emotions are so, so important because we can't not have them. Without them, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have strong relationships. We wouldn't have strong friendships. We wouldn't have strong communities, strong families. We wouldn't have strong friendships or anything. We wouldn't have anything. And so it teaches us that even though it's viewed as a weakness, our tears are viewed as a weakness, they're not. They're actually our greatest strength. So when they come out, it's our way to heal. It's our way to release. And if we keep holding our emotions in, they're going to build up and build up and build up and cause so many issues, whether it be stress-related issues or things going on in our body, or eventually they're just going to burst forward and it's just going to be really, really messy. And so it's important to acknowledge those tears as they come and acknowledge those emotions and honor those emotions, because without them, we wouldn't be who we are. And so it's a sense of being thankful for those emotions that we carry. And even in Cree, we have a tear ceremony where we actually get together. We hardcore ugly cry. We talk about what we have lost in our communities or our families, and when we do that, it just releases it. But also when you're sitting there and you're sharing, your sense of loss, your sense of anguish or anger or sadness, and other people are sharing that same thing, you realize that we're not alone. We're not alone in these emotions that we feel. We are so interconnected. And this is like the water. The water, when she turns from, the water that we drink or the water that, that falls from the sky or the water vapor that we exhale, even in the winter, we can see it. It reminds us of that cycle, that water will continuously cycle. And if we hold it, it doesn't have a chance to get released into that cycle. And so we need to just release those tears. We need to release those emotions and be able to heal and move forward, because that's the only way we can move forward if our emotions are pulling us down. And so the sage is amazing for that. So if we're ever going through anything emotional, we're really just, feeling really lethargic, feeling really sad, feeling really overwhelmed emotionally, just smudge with sage and you feel like 1,000 times better. That was my phone. So there is sage. We're only smudging with sage today. The reason I usually only smudge with sage is because it is the women's medicine. And so if a woman is on her moon time, she can smudge with sage. Those are just in my teachings. Some teachings, women can't smudge when they're on their moon time. Because when you're on your moon time, it's sacred. It's like you're going through your own personal ceremony. And so this is why we won't go to mixed ceremonies, because we're already on our ceremony. So why double up? But also when we're going through our moon time, because we are on ceremony, it's so, so powerful. Our emotions are so, so powerful. Our energy is so powerful. Our spirit is so powerful because we're so connected to it that When we're in mixed ceremony, all the spirits want to come to us. All that energy wants to come to us. And so we want to just take a step back. So people who need to pray in a good way will just be able to get that energy, get the full benefits of that energy of that ceremony. And that's the same with sweetgrass. If it's our own personal braid of sweetgrass, we can use it on our moon time. But if it's anybody else's, we won't. We'll opt out because it's the men's medicine, and we don't want to overwhelm that medicine with our ceremony. So it's not it's not a dirty thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a gift, and a lot of them don't have that gift, and so we have to honor them and give them their space for ceremony. So those are my teachings around sage, being the women's medicine. And so, yes, you can smudge with sage. I also don't find it right to call people out for being on their moon time. And this is why I only use sage when I smudge in public, because if somebody steps away, they're going to feel like something's wrong with them for being on their moon time, and there's nothing wrong with them. And it's not right to call somebody out. That's theirs to share. That's something sacred that happens to them every single month. And that's not mine to know that there's to share. So this is why we always honor that teaching of sage. And our tears, our emotions, the water, and of course Grandmother Moon, who controls those emotions, who controls those tides. This is why everybody goes a little bonkers around a full moon. And then the last medicine in the north is tobacco. Tobacco is a sacred medicine. It's creator's medicine. We don't actually take it into our body. We don't breathe it in because it makes us sick. It's not meant for us. And so when we gift it, we lay it down for people when we're praying for them, or we gift it back to a plant. So we don't want to take and take and take and take, or else there's going to be nothing left. So when we go picking any of our medicines, we always snap it off at the stem, leave the roots in the ground so that it stays with its family. And we always lay tobacco down or something. We always give something back, because if we take without giving something, then there's going to be nothing left. But tobacco is amazing because it's high in phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen. So it actually helps those plants grow back faster. It also helps ward off like little bugs and things like that. So I've been starting to put it in my garden again, and my garden's starting to thrive. So it's great. I'm like, I love putting this in my garden. It's awesome. But it's also saying thank you to the land. It's saying thank you to the plants and the energy of that plant and the spirit of those plants that are growing. And it's really honoring and acknowledging them. When we gift it to a person to say thank you, we're saying thank you from our spirit to their spirit, because this is a spirit medicine. When we give it to an elder or a knowledge keeper or a drummer or singer or a storyteller, someone to say thank you, it's thanking them for carrying those gifts forward, for carrying those songs, for carrying those stories, for carrying those teachings. And it's a beautiful gift. That's part of protocol. It's really giving something before you've taken it, or in some cases right after. It just depends on the teachings. And so this is why tobacco is so important. And tobacco, I think, has a bad rap because we're actually not supposed to take into our bodies. There's a misconception of us breathing it in during a pipe ceremony, and that doesn't actually happen. What we do is we puff on it, we blow it down our bodies to honor our bodies and to smudge with it, and we blow it in our hands to bring it over our heads to smudge with it. But we don't actually breathe it into our bodies because it's too sacred of a medicine that's not meant for us. And this is why it makes us sick. And people who get addicted to smoking, it's that false sense of that connection to creator. And oftentimes they're not addicted to smoking or any substance. What they're doing is they're trying to heal from trauma. And it's really addressing that trauma without having the tools to deal with it. And so when people recognize where that trauma is coming from, oftentimes these addictions will go away. Because for many years I smoked. And I would quit and start, quit and start, quit and start. And I had dealt with a lot of my own trauma, and I'd broken that cycle of intergenerational trauma with my own kids. But I couldn't seem to let go of tobacco. And then I was in ceremony, and it hit me. I'm like, I'm not just carrying my own pain. I'm carrying my mom's pain, and I'm carrying my cookum's pain, because my cookum was in the residential school. And so I had to be able to forgive them and to pray for their healing, to be able to let go of tobacco. And of course, as soon as I quit tobacco, I quit smoking, everybody started gifting me tobacco. So we got a lot, which I always pass on to elders, which is just a beautiful gift. So this is lovely, lovely tobacco. And I'm very thankful every time I receive it, because it shows that I'm on the right path, because it is a spirit medicine, honoring the time and the energy that my spirit is putting forth into the world. And so I'm very thankful for that. It's connected to the air. It's also connected to our spirits. So we do pray with it quite often. And if you're ever unsure of kind of your next steps, or if you're wanting to heal a relationship, or if you're just wanting to give something back to pray for someone, oftentimes we'll just take tobacco outside and we'll put it on the ground while we think of that person, while we think for the help that we need. And so it's a gift to be able to share that. Awesome. And so now we're going to go into the smudge bowl here. So we have all 4 directions in the smudge bowl. We have the bowl itself, which represents water, because it's a shell. This is an abalone shell. I was very thankful for this gift. The medicine that we put in, no matter what we put into the bowl, as soon as it goes into the bowl, the medicine, it comes from the earth, so it represents earth once it's in the bowl. When we light it on fire, it represents fire. And when we see the smoke coming out, that represents air. That's our prayers getting pulled to Creator. So all 4 directions are in the smudge bowl. Awesome. And I like to take my jewelry off before I smudge, just because energy is held in metal. And if it's something like a wedding ring, that's part of you. Glasses, they are part of you, so you can pull them out and smudge them. My son does that, my eldest son. But if it's like a piercing that you can't take out, that is technically part of you. So you would smudge those things as well, just to clear them out, cleanse them out. And so when we smudge, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. It's whatever feels good to you. And so, it's asking for the things that you need in your life, and it's getting rid of the things that you don't. I always like to use matches, just because when we light it with a lighter, it's not quite the same. So we want to keep it as natural as possible. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have anything except a lighter, then yeah, definitely you could go that way, but I tend to prefer matches. I always carry an abundance on me. So now I'm just lighting my smudge here. Perfect. And I'm going to fan it with my hand. You can fan it with your hand or a feather. I have cats, so my feathers just don't do very well here, but my hand's okay, although sometimes I got scratches right now because my cat was really playful when we got back, so sometimes my hand doesn't do too well with the cat either. But we want to fan it. We never want to blow on it because our breath is our life, and our life is precious, and we don't waste that for anybody. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just rub my hands in it, clean anything that I'm carrying. I just want to get rid of it. I'm going to bring it over my body 4 times. Honor the 4 directions in my body. I smudge my mind so I can think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path. Also, I can remember to be open-minded and not stay stuck. Sometimes we get stuck in these mental patterns, and it's important to break through and really acknowledge the path in front of us. Smudge my ears. I'm very thankful for my hearing, and so I can hear all of the messages that Creator sends to me. And I can listen without bias. I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you speak. Smudge my eyes so I can see clearly, see all of the beauty that surrounds me. And honor my vision this lifetime so it can be clear and precise and see truth. Smudge my nose so I smell danger and cookies and all of those wonderful things. I smudge my mouth so I can speak only true and kind words that are helpful and benefit mankind. I'm going to smudge my throat because I'm very thankful for my voice this lifetime, so I can continue and to give voice to the voiceless. Smudge my lungs so I can breathe good, clean air. Smudge my heart to remember to be kind and compassionate and show unconditional love to all of those around me, friends, family, strangers, but also to remember to be gentle with ourselves, because sometimes we forget. And that self-love is really, really important, especially when it comes to healing. Smudge my stomach so that all the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. Smudge my womanhood because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time. I'm going to smudge my shoulders and my back, so I can carry all of the responsibilities that Creator's gifted me with grace and humility. I stretch my arms and my hands so I can do all the good work the Creator's put me here to do. Then I smudge my legs so I can walk this red road in a good way. Red road is the path of Aboriginal spirituality. And then I smudge my feet so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth. And I tread lightly upon her, honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere in particular that you need a little extra love, so the middle of my back's always really, really sore for some reason. So I get a little bit of extra love there. My hips, because I've had multiple hip surgeries, but I'm still rocking it, so I always smudge them. And then if there's anybody in particular that you want to send love and appreciation to, or send your prayers to, just hold them in your heart. And you pray for them in your own way. And when we say pray, there's no right or wrong way to pray. All prayer is just intention. So it doesn't matter if you're praying to Creator, God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, the big spaghetti monster in the sky, whoever. It's really just, it's the intention that you put out there. And it doesn't matter who you ask, even if you're just asking the universe or yourself. It's honoring that energy that we're asking for, and honoring that energy exchange by actually saying it out loud or saying it in your heart. And then when you're done, you just say hi, or miigwech, or merci, or gracia, or thank you, or however you say thank you in your language. Okay, awesome. And just to get the ball, pardon me, I'm going to have a sip of water, and then I'm going to share a song. So the bear song has really been sticking with me. Because I've been thinking a lot about, how the bear has really guided us, and I've been reading a lot about the spirit bears that, and they're very, very rare, but the forest that they do live in, they're looking on doing logging in that forest, and that's going to be devastating for their populations, and it's also going to be devastating for a lot of the traditional territory out there, for the prayers that we do in that territory. And so I think it's really about giving those animals a voice, because the bear teaches us so much. We can learn so much from the bear. It always knows what to eat and when to eat it. We would watch it to know when to eat, what to eat. So if it was only eating a certain type of berries that year, we would do the same. If it wasn't eating a lot of elk one year, we would do the same, because we knew that it knew how to replenish those things, and it would regulate those things. And by watching it, we would do the same. And still to this day, we can watch them and know how the winter's going to go. If you see a bear and he's crazy, crazy fat, going to be a cold winter. If he's not fat, not going to be so bad, which has been a very proven thing. So I like to go hiking in Kananaskis right during hibernation season, to watch how they're getting ready, and to know how to prep if I should buy extra mittens, because I know that my kids are going to lose them. But also, it's really about the teachings that they do share with us. They teach us about only taking what we need and always giving back, because the bear only takes what it needs. And it also knows how to balance everything else. So with the pine beetles, it'll chew and rip and claw the pods of pine beetles off the trees out in BC, because it's trying to warn us these beetles are a problem, and it's trying to protect the trees from these beetles that don't belong there. And so it will eat things that don't belong there. In Banff National Park, 9 years ago, there was a whole bunch of wolves that were dropped off from our lovely American friends, and the wolves started just devastating the population of the deer and the elk and the moose and the bighorn sheep. And the bear, who would normally eat those animals, decided it was time to balance everything out. And so they actually started to eat the wolves, because they knew by eating those wolves that they would protect those populations for future generations. And surprisingly enough, they only ate the wolves that didn't belong there. They were American. So probably salty or deep fried or tasted like funnel cakes. I'm not quite sure. But even a few years ago, there was out in BC, there's a beautiful tourist town, and so many fish that people just go there basically for the fishing. They eat the fish, and it's great. But one year, the bear actually stopped eating the fish, and the First Nations people who watched the bear were like, "Whoa, the bears aren't eating the fish, don't eat the fish." And so they tried to warn everybody, don't eat the fish. But of course, nobody was listening. Nobody got the memo, and everyone had a pretty miserable summer, getting sick every time they would eat the fish. And when scientists came in, they found a microorganism in the fish that was actually making everybody sick, giving everybody gastrointestinal distress. And so the bear knew it. They didn't touch the fish. The First Nations people who watched the bear knew it. They didn't touch the fish, but nobody else got the memo. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that the bears sometimes know what's going on before we do. All of the animals do. This is why when a forest fire is about to come, you'll notice all of the animals just getting out of there if they can. You'll see animals acting and behaving badly, whether it be our pets, acting really funny if something is about to happen, whether it be a big storm or whether it be, a huge earthquake. Animals know. And we can really take a page out of their book and learn from them if we allow ourselves to do so and are humble enough to recognize that they are here as our teachers. And we have a lot more to learn than they do. They're good. So this is the bear song. And this is an Anishinaabe song. Well, tilt that back up. I sing the shorter version of the song. There is a longer version of the song. There's a ceremonial version of the song. And and then this song is the one that we share with community. So I'm very thankful and humbled to be able to share it. I heard it from Carrie Moore, which is one of my elders, Sharon Prue Turner, which is another one of my elders, but I remember hearing it as a kid. And it's funny how we hold on to those songs that until we hear them again, it just brings out all of these memories and these feelings of joy and connection. And so this is the Anishinaabe bear song. I wanted to share the one Blackfoot song I know. I need to learn more Blackfoot songs. And I'd really love to learn more Stoney songs, or a Stoney song at least, and some Tsuut'ina songs. So I think it's really important to be able to represent the voices where you live and to be able to share those stories because they have such a beautiful history and so much impact. You actually learn them, and it really does open your eyes to what's right in front of you. But this is the Blackfoot song that I know. This is the I Love You song. So it is Gitsi Gakomen. So Gitsi Gakomen means I love you. Oh. Do you want to sing with me, buddy?
No, I'm getting food and then going back.
Okay, he's going back downstairs.
I'm going to check out all the chicken wings.
All right, the chicken. Okay. Gitsi Gakomen, everyone. Gitsi Gakomen, everyone. Gitsi Gakomen, everyone. Gitsi Gakomen. it makes me happy. I'd like to share another song that, that song in particular was shared with me by two beautiful Black women, my friend Stephanie, as well as my friend Sandra. And when we sing it for their sisters and their daughters, and we sing it oftentimes when we're marching for justice, whether it be justice for Jackie or justice for Joey, these beautiful women that were just taken from us far, far, far too soon. And we still don't have justice for them and for their families. And so when we share it, we sing for them. We sing that we love them. And we sing that, we miss them and we honor them. And it's so important, I think, to maintain that legacy. And even though when we march, it's not going to bring that person back. Sometimes you can feel them marching alongside you and singing with you. And you can feel their presence. And we know that everything that we do is for them, and it's for the closure of their families. And so it can be really powerful to see the way that community gets together and gathers to really help heal family wounds. And so that being said, I'm going to share the Cree healing song, which is also called the crying song or the wailing song. And in it, you can hear the tears. We sing it as well in 4 rounds out of 4 directions. But the 3rd round, we actually stop drumming. And in that silence, we invite you to heal. We invite you to ask for the things that you need, to pray for the things that you need for the healing for yourself, because it's important to heal yourself before you heal anybody else, for your family, for your friends, for even pets, even those things in your life that you need to fix. It's asking for those things, asking for those things that you need, and more, that gentleness, for even if we can't heal someone who's passing, for them to pass in a gentle way. And that's what this song is about. It's about acknowledging what we can change and acknowledging what we can't, but praying for things to go in a better way, or for things to be a little bit more gentle on our path. And so when we sing it, it's a heartbeat, and that heartbeat is a prayer beat. It's an honor beat, and it's also a women's beat. And so when we drum it, there's a power to it, because it's that first sound that we hear in our mother's womb is her heartbeat, and then the sound that we feel throughout our entire being is our own heartbeat. Mother Earth has a heartbeat. Everything in nature has a pulse, has a heartbeat. This is why it's so important. This is why it's so healing. And this is why it just connects each and every one of us. What the drum is that heartbeat that connects each and every one of us. Because when we come into this world, we're looking for that sound. We're looking for that rhythm. We're looking for that heartbeat. And this is why songs are so, so important. And so this is the Cree healing song, or crying song, or the wailing song. And if you feel tears coming out, honor those tears and let them out. That's the way we heal. That's the way our spirit heals. Hi, Smudging. I'm going to share another song. I was actually thinking a lot about this song. Of course, I always share the creator song because I think it's such a beautiful song and so important. and it has just it's been such a magical thing for me to share it. In particular with my great aunt, who she's not well right now. She's in the elders care facility, and sometimes she has good days, she has bad days, but sometimes she forgets, and she also has dealing with Parkinson's, and her medication makes her forget. But there's times when she's just so shining and she remembers so many beautiful things, and I hope to catch her on more of those days. And when I went there to share some songs with her, I had never played this song for her before. And then as soon as I started singing it, she started singing along. So she knew this song. And so I was so thankful and humbled and grateful for being gifted this song from my friend Elizabeth, because it has brought so much clarity and joy and cleansing and healing and peace to myself and to my family. So this is the Creator song, and it teaches us to really acknowledge everything in creation and how just interconnected it all is, how beautiful it all is, and how everything is such a wonderful, wonderful gift. I think sometimes in the winter we don't really realize that because we're too busy just complaining about the cold. But in the springtime, when we see all of this life just abound and grow, and then over the summer, when of course we're outside, we're enjoying the sun, we're seeing all of the beautiful movement of the animals and the growth of the plants, and we're feasting on all of these beautiful fruits and vegetables that have grown. It's easier in those moments to be thankful, I think, than it is in the winter. And then, of course, in the fall, when it starts to change, all of those beautiful, brilliant colors in the leaves and the different animals that come out, getting prepared for the winter ahead. It's a blessing to watch all of those things unfold in front of us. And it's just really about acknowledging and being in those moments, being thankful for those moments, just appreciating it until it's gone. So yeah, this is the Creator song. So I'm going to share one last song. This is kind of a goodbye song, a traveling song. I'm very thankful for traveling songs. Oh, I did put my underwater behind me. Cool. So, it's funny. When I was driving, we left on Friday night, and it was quite dark by the time we actually got out of town because I was drumming with youth, which was awesome. I miss drumming with youth. It was really lovely. So as we were driving at night, I don't know, this song just hit me, and I started singing it as I was driving really quietly under my voice because some of the kids were sleeping in the back. And so, and then out of nowhere, just out of the darkness, this family of deer were crossing the road, and I was like, right in between two baby deer. And I was just like, oh my God. And so I was like, how are you going to react? Right? So I just kind of squeaked a little bit. And then the kids kind of woke up, and they're like, what was that? I was like, oh, we'll see a couple deer. And then all of a sudden this whoosh, huge owl just swooped kind of right beside our vehicle. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was a humbling reminder of why we need to ask for guidance, why we need to ask protection when we're driving or when we're traveling anywhere on our path, because the Thunderbird's with us if we ask for it to really guide us in a healthy and meaningful way. And so the Thunderbird to us, it's like destiny. It's the thing that pushes us forward. It's the gift that we have and that we need to honor. It's our ancestors pushing us forward. So it's those voices from those 7 generations behind leading us forward in a good way and laying down that foundation for us, and trying to be like warning us if something is going awry. And it's our intuition as well, which is our spirit. It's our spirit, and it's never, ever, ever wrong. It always leads us where we need to go. It leads us down the right path. So even if you have that little weird feeling in your tummy, you're like, oh, maybe I should go this way instead, and then you don't, and then you get a flat tire, and you're like, oh man, I should have totally gone the other way. Or if you're, walking down the street, and you're like, oh, I should cross the street, and you don't, and then you slip on ice, and you're like, oh man, my intuition was right, I totally should have crossed the street. It happens all the time, and those little things, so you'll just like offhandedly be thinking about something, and then you'll just dismiss it, and then later on you'll be like, oh, I totally needed that thing I was thinking about. So our intuition never lies. It always leads us down the right path, and the intuition is the Thunderbird that's yelling through us. It's yelling through our spirit, and it's very gentle at first. It's very subtle at first, until eventually it gets fed up with us, and it'll start warning us louder and louder and louder. By putting different obstacles in our path, trying to warn us, like, don't do this, don't do this. If we're in a rut and we keep doing the same things over and over and over again, eventually the Thunderbird's just going to get fed up and just, boom, kick us in the butt and put us on the path that we need to be on. And that's really what happened to me almost 10 years ago now, when I got hit by a truck. And I had a choice in that moment. I had to realize, okay, I was ignoring my Thunderbird. And I knew I was ignoring my Thunderbird because I was wrapped up in my head. I was thinking too much, going, okay, well, I don't know if I should, be an artist and be a drummer and a teacher, because I should just, get a real job. And Creator was telling me, no, the Thunderbird was telling me, like, no, your path is drumming and singing and sharing and creating, bringing community together in a meaningful way. And I was like, no, I need a real job. But then, of course, when it hit me with the truck, I couldn't get a real job because I could barely walk for a month and a half. And then I had to get multiple surgeries, so I couldn't hold a real job. And so I had to kind of recognize what was going on in that moment. And I had a choice. Was I going to, be upset and be depressed and just let what happened to me overtake me? Or was I going to see it as an opportunity and recognize where it changed my path to go? And had it not been for that accident, I wouldn't be involved. I wouldn't have been involved and continue to be involved in Idle No More and a lot of that activism that I had been involved in, and I am involved in. It wouldn't have led me down this path of sharing, teachings and songs and stories with people of all ages. Whether it be, little guys like pre-K when they hold a drum, so freaking cute, I can't even handle it, or even university or elders. Teaching in all of these ways. And had it not been for that accident, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on the path that I'm on now. So even though, yes, it sucks being hit by a truck, I'm thankful because it opened the path that I needed to be on. And so sometimes when things happen to us, we have that choice in that moment. We can either take it as an opportunity or we can let it pull us down. And the Thunderbird teaches us that we need to take those things and soar. And so this is why the song is so important. It's a traveling song because it teaches us that sometimes our path might not be the easiest, but once we get to the end, or once we at least find the newest path, it'll be good. It'll be really good. And so this is the Thunderbird song, and this is my goodbye song, and my traveling song. Chimogwich, everyone. Hi, and thank you. Please feel free to share. Looking forward to next Tuesday and sharing more. I'm hoping to write a song by then and actually share it. So have a beautiful week. Enjoy. I can't believe it's already August. Enjoy the summer while it still lasts. And really show love and appreciation to your plants, your animals, your family, your friends. Yes, they are a gift. So hi, Chimogwich, and have a great week. Bye, everybody.